I'm going to go ahead and chime in on this whole is he or isn't he going to pass over the span of the next couple of days if he has not passed already. I'm going to go at this a little bit differently, and I'm going to be very clear and very frank with you guys. The majority of the astrology that I do, that I practice, that I do professionally is natal chart astrology with transits, not mundane astrology. Mundane astrology is the astrology of how the planets are impacting or telling the story, not really impacting the greater collective. In this case, a country has a natal chart as well, and you're basically trying to figure out the story that's happening based off the archetypal messages of the planets that are currently transiting. I really like working in my natal chart practice with the progressed chart. Now, on humans, the progressed chart doesn't change all that much. You'll see mostly it's the moon that's changing signs, and then every 30 years, the sun will change based off the degree that it started. It will change. We'll set that aside. But I thought it would be interesting to go at this from a progressed chart of the United States Sibley. The reason I thought to do this is because I was kind of confused as to why. Now, don't get me wrong, the eclipse is absolutely doing shit to the natal United States chart. But when you're learning astrology, you learn that often the ancients would see eclipses as omens of things that were to come, and that frequently eclipses to the sun in a country's natal chart often indicated issues, primarily negative issues, to that country's leader. So first I want to show you a chart from March of 2024, which I thought was kind of interesting. This is the progressed United States chart in March of 2024. So this is the progressed chart for March of 2024. And what I found interesting about this chart, see how the sun and the moon are both at 19 degrees? This means that in this chart, we're looking at a new moon. New moons archetypally are new cycles, new 28-year cycles in the lifespan of a human, or in this case, a country. What happened in March of 2024? Nikki Haley gave up her spot, and Trump took the lead as the Republican candidate to run for office. So this was the month that solidified that he was going to be the candidate for the Republican Party in the 2024 elections. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. Let's look at another chart. So this is the chart that I pulled before I pulled the chart that I just showed you. Would you look at that? Is that a Pisces sun that we're looking at in the 7th house of our international relations, in the house of our open enemies? But the sun, again, in a mundane chart for the country, is a symbol of the leader. Anyway. So this is where I thought it got a little interesting. Eclipses are going to start building well before the actual day of the eclipse. Sometimes it's days, sometimes it's weeks. We are 6 days out from this particular eclipse, and we're all wondering, has our leader passed, or will our leader pass very soon? When I saw that it was happening in Pisces, and I know that our natal American sun is in Cancer in our 8th house in the United States Sibley chart. I was not as concerned, but as this has been ramping up, I was like, there has to be something that's a little bit more obvious. So I was like, let me go ahead and see what happens when we progress the United States chart. What is that? What is that sun in? Is that Pisces? This eclipse is at 15 degrees of Pisces. So this sun, which is the archetypal planet, it's the symbol of the nation's leader, is being eclipsed within 5 degrees. That is significant. The ruler of Pisces in traditional astrology is Jupiter. Now, I think it's interesting that at this time we're having, in terms of our progressed chart, kind of like a Jupiter return to our progressed. It's not really a return because this is a progressed chart, so it's not actually a return. But I think it's interesting and likely of note that these two are conjunct. This is transiting, this is progressed. This is also happening with Mars down here as well. Mars has a lot to do with blood. It also has a lot to do with endings. So that these two are also square each other is fairly interesting. The other interesting thing I would say is this is also the same. Which isn't really like that odd. And that's just because in a progressed chart, any progressed chart, like the outer planets like don't even hardly move in a progressed chart. But it's still interesting of note, because this one will move, but just the fact that it's come back at this time and it's in the 10th house of the progressed chart, which is a lot to do with the actual government, disruptions within the government. I think that that's kind of interesting. That's just me. But again, I am not a professional, mundane astrologer like some others on here are. So again, if you want to tag your favorite mundane astrologers, I would be interested in what Lori from the Awake Space. I always get it. Let me go look her up really quick. Lori Rivers Astrology. I always have to go look her up because I also really respect and enjoy watching Lunatic Astrology on YouTube. I don't think she's on TikTok, but her name is also Lori, so I always get them confused. Apologies, but I really do like the work that both of them do. David Palmer, Leo King is another one that I really like watching. Robert Phoenix is one that I really enjoy listening to. And Evan Nathaniel Grimm, whenever he does do mundane astrology, has been really interesting to listen to as well. So those are the astrologers that I listen to, but I'm not sure if I've ever heard any of them use a progressed chart. That's not to say I've consumed all of their content, so I don't know if this is actually anything that holds any weight. Please weigh in. Let me know what you think. But I do find it pretty interesting that the progressed sun of the United States chart is what is being eclipsed in a week when it's very possible we could potentially lose our president. Let me know what you think.